Hello, folks. You're listening to Midnight Movie Gang, a show where we talk about cult cinema, hidden gems,
gross ass movies,
gross ass, nasty ass shit. This movie is pretty gross. Or the second movie, or the new. We just finished. So, folks, tonight we're gonna be talking about flies.
We're talking about the little bugs.
The little bugs, the flies. This is a bug podcast now.
Welcome to the bug world.
No, we're talking about the fly. Talking about the two. There's 1958, The Fly.
Yep.
And then there's the 1986 remake.
Yes.
Remake only in basic concept.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, the important stuff is still there.
Yep. The 1986 Fly. We just finished watching both of them. Neither of us had seen the 1958 film, and Joseph hadn't seen the 1986 film.
Yep.
The Cronenberg version. And I'm really excited to get into the Cronenberg version because I feel like you had a very visceral reaction to it.
Had a good time watching that movie.
Yeah. But before we get into the movies, let's talk a little bit about our teas. So
That's the tea, sis.
The tea. So the tea I poured you is a Bigelow brand vanilla chai tea. Black tea, smooth vanilla blended with flavorful spices, sweet and spicy all at the same time.
My go-to, and you should buy it only if they sponsor us.
Exactly. Only if Bigelow, hey, sponsor us.
If they don't, and they're not right now, then boycott them, I guess.
Send us free tea and give us money.
Yeah.
And then I'm drinking, although I grabbed a mug that doesn't have a handle on it and it's way too hot. I took a little sip. I got a honey turmeric chai tea by Yogi. It's an herbal tea. It's caffeine-free tea. It's good for your immune system and digestion.
Cool. But don't buy them unless they sponsor us.
Exactly. Yogi sponsor us. But no. So Midnight Movie Gang at 10:03. Night Movie Gang. Let's talk a little bit about. Firstly, I wanted to ask Joseph. What had you known about either of these movies before we watched them tonight? Like, what's your Fly experience?
I knew the basic premise. I knew Cronenberg's was gross. I knew Jeff Goldblum was in it. Mm-hmm. I knew about the shot at the end of
the first
one. 58 one. The 58 one mm-hmm. with the guy in the web going, help me! Which no one's gonna get if they haven't seen that.
Yeah,
it's gonna sound really weird.
Yeah.
I didn't. I knew the basic premise, but I didn't know much else. How about what did you know about the original? I know you already seen the 86 one.
Yeah. As far as the original, I knew that it was gonna be a little goofier because it's.
I don't know about that, dude.
It has some dark moments, but it definitely is like a lighter toned. Like overall, later. Although it's debate,
we could talk about it.
We'll get into it. But as far as what I know about it, I knew the scene at the end. I thought here's what I was hoping. I thought it would be. So I thought that it was going to be like because his head switched with the fly's head, that the fly, he was going to be totally a fly brain. It was going to be a fly brain.
He's like a movie monster who's like
yeah.
Frankenstein's monster coming after you.
Exactly, with like a fly brain, but it was like kind of he was still a man, but he just had that.
He just couldn't talk.
Yeah, the head and claw fly, but there was still a lot of. I enjoyed the original movie much more than I anticipated I would.
Yeah, same here.
For different reasons than I thought.
Yeah.
I grew up with the 1986 Fly, the David Cronenberg Fly. I saw it way too young. Scared to live.
I feel like I've still seen it too young.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And I'm 67 years old.
I grew up with it way too young. Although I don't know, my mom's like a big film buff, and it was like always one of her favorites.
Yeah.
It definitely like
it's fantastic.
It left an impact on me, not just in terms of it being scary, but also just in terms of like the effects in it. But we'll get to that more when we talk about that movie specifically. I do want to talk a little bit about the the plot of the first The Fly.
Yeah.
The first The Fly,
Very enjoyable.
Good, directed by
fun watch.
Kurt Newman. And I feel like a lot of the inspiration behind this episode was like, we both, I feel like, have kind of grown up with, in our personal lives, I guess, more of like our parents and like older people in our lives.
Yeah.
Their main experiences with these kind of properties are like the 80s and 90s reinvention of older sci-fi ideas, like John Carpenter's The Thing and Cronenberg's Fly. And I kind of realized, like, I've seen a lot of the 80s and 90s reinventions, but I haven't seen a whole lot of the original like 50s and earlier stuff. So like this was a kind of a first deep dive into that. And it's really cool because like I can definitely see how like weirdos in the 80s saw that original Fly and went, we could do this different.
You can see like the source of inspiration in this movie. Like you could, because he's still got this like once he becomes the Fly, his brain is still like degrading into just being a bug. Like it's not just that. In both movies, it's not just that he's merged his DNA with the Fly, which, by the way, we should probably explain the plot of both of these movies.
Basically, because it's somewhat the same. I mean,
essentially, scientists, as broad strokes for both these movies, which is going to make it pretty simple, a scientist creates a teleportation system with 2 pods where you can teleport, and he has it perfected where he can teleport inanimate objects. And he thinks he has it. He thinks he figures out a way to teleport like living beings, so he teleports himself. But when he teleports himself, the Fly gets into the pod with him. And the way it works is it rips your atoms apart and puts them together somewhere else, like in Star Trek. So his DNA becomes merged with that of a Fly. So he essentially becomes half Fly, half person. And eventually the Fly takes over entirely.
Yeah.
And Cronenberg is especially interested in the aspect of the Fly taking over time, that sort of slow degradation of his brain.
100%. One thing that's like a big difference between the two is that the 50s Fly, it is the Fly and the man swap parts. Yeah. Whereas like they get fused in Cronenberg's Fly. Like there's only one being in the second one. So
in the 50s one, there's like a whole point where he has this plot as like a half man, half Fly. He's like communicating through knocks and like typing on his typewriter to his wife that he needs. Like if you just get the other Fly that's half me, half Fly, that's mostly Fly, I'll just try going through again, and hopefully that'll just fix the problem. Which,
and it will give our parts back.
Which I never bought. So the large portion of this movie where there's just trying to hunt down this Fly, that's the low point for me.
Yeah, that's definitely where the movie is the weakest for sure. I think overall it definitely could have used more of that like his mind being degraded by like the transformation and just like more of kind of like he's just like a man who's locked himself away in this basement and he's disfigured, which I mean honestly, you know, that we would want that to be the focus of the story, which is pretty much
it's still interesting. I like the idea because at the end, because through most of the movie it's just like a Fly with a white head, but at the end it's like it's now become more man than Fly, and they zoom in on it. It's just him screaming like he's caught in a spider web.
Like, help me! Really disturbing.
That is the ending. That is a surprisingly disturbing part of this movie.
Yeah,
like actually scary. Like it's a tiny Fly with a little man head and arm, and it's tied up in a spider web and from his perspective, it's a giant spider coming to eat him. And it's actually gave me the creeps, which I wasn't expecting from this movie.
No, as far as the specific plot of this first one, it starts off with this scientist being found dead under a press, and in a pretty violent looking opening. It's just like you see a man's body,
bright red Technicolor blood
under this big hydraulic press
channel accident.
A French man who's like, I think he's the a French guy who I think he's like the butler, like a groundskeeper,
Oh yeah,
type
an
guy.
extremely French man.
The most
This whole movie is very French.
Yeah, the movie takes place in Montreal, Quebec.
Yeah.
People have French names.
Yeah, for some
but-
reason it really gravitated toward people being French.
Yeah,
for some reason.
but most of the people in this movie sound like that transatlantic movie star.
Especially Vincent Price is in this movie.
Vincent motherfucking Price.
I love Vincent Price, and he's like the most expressive person in this movie.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is a shame because he's not in it very much.
He's
to be
great.
honest.
My original ending with him, I thought would have been cool, like what I was predicting the whole time. But
Yeah,
we'll get to that. Basically, it starts in the
it
future.
starts with like a murder mystery.
Yeah, and it is a pretty cool kind of opening. It kind of brings you in. So this guy's dead, and right now the prime suspect is his wife.
Yeah.
And she basically
Well, she admits it. She the opening of the movie is after that body is discovered. She calls Vincent Price and she tells him, "I killed your brother, Andre.
yeah.
So call the cops. Come on over. We'll sort this out."
Uh-huh.
She's very calm about it.
Yeah, no, she's very chill. She admits to killing him, but she refuses to tell them why.
I'm not going to tell you what happened. I'm just
Yeah.
going to tell you I killed him.
Exactly. And in this like first section of the movie, the first third, you see her kind of like being obsessed over like there's like there's already like fly shit. The opening is pretty cool. The opening titles, like you just like close ups of flies.
Really cool opening titles.
Of mixes, the music. Technicolor, like the fonts are really that kind of 50s B movie. Like my only frame of reference for this kind of like pulpy sci-fi story is Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Like grew up with Twilight Zone, love Twilight Zone, so like there are definitely like you can see a lot of the conventions
of like weird sci-fi horror.
Is relatively the same.
I love this like framing device. I think it's very effective because it brings up a lot of questions right at the top of the movie, which is a great way of like drawing us in into wanting to know what happens. Because this whole beginning is a flash forward, and then most of the movie is her explaining the plot of The Fly, essentially. Yeah,
pretty much. Like it is just like a framing device.
Because like you see her, she's like freaking out. She's like, "Have you seen this fly with a white head? Please tell me." And like, you're like, "Why does she want to find the fly?" And then like her housekeeper like swats down a fly, and she's like,
"No!"
She freaks out. Like,
fuck, get the fuck away.
Yeah. So you're like, what is going on? Like, if you didn't know, which most people know the plot of The Fly, but if you didn't know, this would really draw you in. I just like I like the idea of that like 1958 movie going experience.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely get it if like you have no frame of reference.
Yeah,
I definitely get it being a cool thing. But me personally, watching, like, I just want to get to the fly. I just want to get to the.
I like me some Vincent Price, so I was pretty entertained.
He was really entertaining in this, and there's the most interesting beat for me that's introduced in there is the idea that like they suspect Vincent Price for a minute.
Yeah,
because like him and his brother own half of this like company where it's like basically. His brother's the smart, like the scientific one who makes all the stuff, and then you see Vincent Price is like the businessman,
business guy, yeah.
Side of it, and basically, and also it's insinuated heavily that, and pretty much confirmed that he's hounding over his brother's wife.
Yeah,
Helene.
he admits it. Yeah, he's into her.
Yeah. This movie was released as a double feature with Space Master X7.
A movie nobody remembers.
Just looking at the Wikipedia.
What a bad title.
I love the poster, though.
Space Master X7.
A space probe returns to Earth covered with mysterious fungus, which when accidentally mixed with human blood transforms into an ever-growing pile of space rust. If not stopped, the infection could eventually cover the whole world.
That sounds like shit.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that George Lucas movie with an equally bad title, the
THX
11. Do you remember the numbers?
THX 1187.
1180. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure that's the name of it.
Because I'm not. I saw it. I don't remember the title.
I've never seen it, actually.
It's
1138.
Yeah. See? No one remembers the numbers. I didn't.
His directorial debut.
Yeah. It's fine.
Sexual intercourse is prohibited. What the fuck?
No, yeah, it's like a dystopian future. Anyway.
Interesting. Sorry, back to The Fly. Sorry,
maybe a future episode.
Got distracted by that.
It's a little boring for this show, but
yeah. But yeah, no. So like Vincent Price is a prime suspect, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then yeah, basically after her hysteria, she kind of starts to reveal like what happened, tells the story, and it is kind of you meet her husband, you meet Andre
with his big ass lab coat,
with his big giant trench coat, which like immediately I recognized it. I'm like, that's the fly trench. It's all big and wavy so he can hide his fly claw.
And his Dexter's laboratory.
in his little lab. And his lab is pretty sick. Like it's a really cool set.
I like this like almost like this late 50s sci-fi aesthetic, like Technicolor, because it reminded me a lot of Star Trek with just big smooth metal panels everywhere, big flat metal panels. It looks really boring by today's standards for sci-fi, but it must have looked cool as hell back then.
It must have,
because it was just everywhere.
100%. Yeah,
because that's like robots were just boxes and just smooth flat metal sheets everywhere.
Yeah, I mean it is like it's an aesthetic that like makes sense. Like it does look like just my mental image of like a kooky scientist living in a lab and
big like analog computer equipment. It probably smells bad when it's operating.
All the tiles, all the fucking Turing machine tape-based computers.
It gets really hot.
Just like these devices, like this computer has a whole 2 megabytes. I found it pretty impressive with the Cronenberg movie. There are some nice little touches of like visual similarities between this lab and Jeff Goldblum's lab.
Yeah, same door.
For sure, same door. Some of the machines look kind of similar. But yeah, he has a little telepod that at this point it's just like 3D printer sized.
Yeah,
it's pointed to my 3D printer.
It looked a lot like a 3D printer.
Yeah,
and there's even like little coils of what looks like 3D printing filament. And I was like, is he just 3D printing down here?
Yeah.
He's like, babe, come here, check it out. It's Bender's head, his pencil holder.
Check it out.
It's fucking sick, right?
I printed an Iron Man mask.
Yeah, look, it's Dwayne the Rock Johnson on an octopus body. Isn't that sick?
Isn't that badass, babe?
He's like, yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah. But he teleports a little plate that says "Made in Japan" on it.
Their little ashtray.
They have
a nice little chuckle about it.
A little plate, and what's so funny is that it fucks up, and I don't know why this is so funny to me, but it teleports it, and the lettering gets flipped.
Mirror image. It's like flipped.
It's like flipped.
It's teleported it exactly backwards.
Yeah. And Andre is all upset by this.
Yeah, because it means like this whole machine is just fucked and doesn't work right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he locks himself down.
I don't know how he didn't notice that before, by the way.
No, the machine. Well, he never sent anything with letters before.
But wait, doesn't he send? He sends a newspaper right after that.
He does.
It's fine.
Well, yeah, no. Well, there's like a little time skip. It's like 4 weeks later, and he fixed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like a lot of things where like. if you're not paying attention, like they say the time skip,
man.
like Andre, you've been down there for 4 weeks.
That's true. But he's down. He sends like the newspaper and he's like, thank God I fixed it. And then he was like, he sees his cat, and he's like, you hungry? And then you see him do that like little double take at his cat. And it's like, oh, this guy's a fucking serial killer. And he picks up his cat and he's just like, I'm going to use the family pet, and whatever happens. And it does the nice 1950s PG version of a monkey turning inside out.
Yeah. Where the cat just disappears.
Yeah, he sends the cat, and like the saucer of milk that he sent it with arrives, but not the cat, and you hear like meow, meow. With echo. You put a little echo in the background of that.
Some tape echo on there. And the cat just exists in the ether now. And it's
I don't understand how that works.
It's really
that doesn't make any sense.
It's really fucked up, and it's really
cat ghost haunting their house now.
It's kind of Lovecraftian almost.
Yeah,
where it's like this cat now just
it makes no sense at all.
It's basically a fucking ghost.
You rip the cat's atoms apart, but yet somehow it's meowing at you.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that when the machine starts up, there's a bunch of cool lights that go off, like these like neon, like big vacuum tube circuits.
They're essentially. I guess back then it would have looked like scientific equipment, but it really just looks like cool ass neon signs.
It's something straight out of Fallout.
Yeah,
not saying that because I've been playing Fallout 4 because the Fallout TV.
Yeah, it's like super. It almost looks 80s. Like it's just these like super colorful neon tubes that are just going in nonsensical directions. I love it.
And they got these badass goggles.
Yeah,
these like really cool.
They look like the Apple Vision Pros or whatever they're called.
Yeah, I want a pair of those motherfuckers to look at the eclipse.
They look sick.
Yeah. He teleports the cat. It skips like another month.
Yep.
And
we do not actually see him go through the teleporter.
We not see him go through the teleporter, but then he tells his wife.
Yeah, his wife is just like, we haven't seen him in a while. I haven't seen him all day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
He teleports before he flies himself.
Yeah.
He teleports a gerbil in front of his wife.
Yeah.
And then he just tells him like, "Oh yeah, I tried the cat and the cat didn't come back." And she's like, "You killed our cat."
What? And then she's over it, and then she because he's like, "I'm gonna send this guinea pig through," and she's like, "Don't," and he's like, "I'm gonna fucking do it anyway."
I'm gonna do it. I'm a white man.
Yeah,
in the 50s.
I don't know why you think that you'd assume that I would ever take anything you want into consideration.
Do you think there's a democracy here?
Yeah, so he just does it anyway, and then all of a sudden she's fine with it because it worked.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Don't do it again."
Yeah, but so yeah, he teleports himself off screen.
Mm-hmm.
She goes down,
It's
and
so
like
lame
she
that
finds.
we don't see it.
I thought it was lame at first, but I think it's probably the best way this movie could have handled it, because it feels like the whole point of this movie was to build up to the reveal of like how horrifying the fly is.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the poster of the movie is her reaction, her screaming.
Yeah, that is like the pivotal scene.
It's a great moment. It's earned as hell
it's
too.
It's very effectively done.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could have just done with like maybe like a shot of him like looking at the teleporter, deciding to go in, but then they don't show us him on the other side. So he gets teleported, and then you see the fly flying around, and then like after he gets teleported, you just hear which
oh, Buzz.
The whole time when he does get flied and he's communicating through the letters, we were
making Buzz jokes.
We were just cracking up. Just like, "Honey, what's wrong?"
Buzz. Buzz, Buzz, Buzz. He's like typing her notes on the typewriter. I just imagine he hands her a note and it just says Buzz, 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 Buzz over.
Buzz, 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 Buzz.
But yeah, she. So yeah, he lets her in, and he's got this like towel over his head, and he's got his hand in his pocket the whole time. He's behind you.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, and it's that way for a solid chunk of the movie, and it really. I think that is probably the best way, because honestly, like, you could extrapolate that he's going to send himself through that.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you want to know, like, what exactly did he do to himself? Like, what does it look like under there? And it's slowly revealed, like, I sent myself out with a fly.
Yeah.
You need to find this other fly. Like, he's communicating all this through typing to his wife and like knocking on the table for yes and no, and she handles it surprisingly well.
Yeah, no, she goes through the motions, and very good hand acting on David. I don't know if it's
impressive.
him. I don't know if it's David Hedison when he's got the fly, but whoever is acting when he's communicating with yes and no, like you can really tell like when it's like a benign yes or no, and he's like, yeah,
he points with a lot of vigor,
a lot of really good hand acting, and this is like the middle section of the movie where it's kind of just like
he's like, you need to find a fly, and then there's like 3 or 4 scenes of them just chasing down a fly, and then it gets away anyway.
Her, the maid, and their son Philippe.
Yep.
Who's like, "I've seen the white fly, Mom."
he catches it like 3 times and lets it go. Fucking idiot.
And we see at that point it's just clearly got like a little bit of paint on it.
Yeah, it's just got a little white out on its head. Because does animal rights even apply to a fly? I don't think so.
How many flies were killed in the making of this movie, I wonder.
Hopefully not enough. Flies suck.
They definitely say the word fly more in this movie than they do in the Cronenberg one.
We might have already surpassed it in this
in this conversation. The fly counter.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So they're looking for the fly for a while, and then basically, it is nice how they do lead up to, you see kind of like a little bit more and more, like the first time like she sees his
gross claw hand.
His claw hand. It's like really effective and creepy.
But she comes down and she's like, "Well, we couldn't find the fly, just so you know." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to kill myself." He hands her a note that says, like, "If you're reading this, you couldn't find the fly, and I'm going to kill myself." While he's like eating his steak that looks really overdone.
Yeah.
and like he's ripping it apart with his hand.
Yeah, he's really gross when he eats because he puts his like hood, his towel over, and you just hear, it's so fucking gross. But then basically, the reveal of the fly head, basically he decides...
It's the peak of the movie.
It is the peak of the movie. It's the best scene in the movie. He they decide that they're just going to try to go through without the fly just to see if that'll work. And she's like, it will work. And when he teleports to the other side, she's like, oh, honey, I bet it worked. And she pulls the thing off.
And it's a big fuzzy fly head.
It's a big fuzzy fly head. And
it was effectively like, because honestly, a lot of the weight was carried by the music, and her reaction was great. She had a really strong, like, a horror reaction, like a solid scream,
freak out. And like the design of the fly head, even though like it is like clearly it's a mask,
it's great. I love it.
It's really well done. Like the hairs are really like creepily placed, and like the little like the proboscis.
His proboscis moves like realistically, and he like twitches his head around. He looks great.
And like his performance, like his fly arm, he twitches and stuff.
I really like this movie.
Yeah, no, it's like a fun like B-movie romp for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be a really fun one to like
fly movie.
Yeah, fly movie. It'd be really fun. This would be a really fun movie, I think, to just like on Halloween, like get really high with a bunch of your friends.
Absolutely.
And like do like a B-movie horror marathon.
Honestly, just do this double feature that we did. I had a great time.
This was a really good double feature.
Yeah.
As far as like just remake to redo. But basically, yeah. So, and then he destroys his lab, and it's a really funny sequence because he's just going nuts, breaking shit. This fly man.
Like he's fighting his like fly self actively, and he's like writing in cursive on the chalkboard, and we're both just like, I don't know how to fucking read cursive.
Oh damn, they're right. They're right
the
about
boomers were right. We couldn't read it. I mean, I understand his handwriting's bad.
Yeah,
he's a doctor.
Yeah, and I mean, it is getting worse. You can see like as the fly's taking over, he's trying to write, and then he
basically saying like, no use. I'm just gonna kill myself. LOL.
And then he puts himself in the hydraulic press, and he gets crushed.
And then he has her crush him.
Yep. And then the final sequence, it goes back to the future. Where
she's like, so do you believe me? And they're like,
no. And Vincent Price,
they say they do, but then they're like, nah, we're gonna fucking arrest her.
Vincent Price though clearly believes, and basically Philippe,
oh man, it's like one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah, it is.
He's like thinking like, man, if only I had that white fly to prove that she was innocent. He sits on a park bench, and the camera pans over, and you hear, help me,
help me,
help me.
Oh, high pitched,
like
help
this
me.
Weird little like distortion, like help me.
Oh yeah, no, there's like a little bit of that that fucking Super Mario Bros. Sunshine squid noise.
Yeah, and it's like, it's almost like a Hitchcock moment, because you're like, it's right there. He's look down there. I wonder if there was like yelling in the theater.
Yeah, no, it was really.
And he gets up and he walks away.
Yep. And then Philippe tells him like, no, the fly is right there in the spider web.
Yeah. I thought the movie was gonna end in like complete tragedy. Like she was just gonna go to jail and he was just gonna be eaten by a spider.
Yeah, no.
It's really funny though, because he like, instead of running to get the fly, which is like what I was saying, like, just go get it. Just like, the spider's going to eat it before you get to it. Like, go get it. He runs up and gets the police investigator, and they both run out and look at the spider web, and they're like, oh shit. And it zooms in on the spider coming up to the little
to little Andre
and it's
fly.
Actually scary. Like, I was not
terrifying.
expecting that. I bet that like was fucking terrifying back then.
The design of the fly human creature
music
is really scary. The spider is scary.
And instead of like grabbing the little fly human, the investigator just picks up a big rock and squishes the whole situation.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It's like, well, I'm glad you could just make that decision unilaterally for everyone involved, bud. Thanks a lot. He just picks up a big rock. He's like, this situation cannot continue. And then they're just like, we'll just make up some bullshit to get her off the hook. Whatever. Fuck it. He did it himself.
Yeah, fuck it. He killed himself. His wife was crazy. Whatever.
Fuck the truth. We're just whatever. We'll just pull some bullshit. And that's how the movie ends. And then like Vincent Price talks to Andre's son, has like one little conversation like, and the moral of the story is,
I'm fucking your mom.
Yes, I'm fucking your mother. And then the credits, not even credits, just fade to black. The end.
The end. No
I
credits.
love old movies for that.
Yeah. No.
I love the way King Kong ends. I love how it's just like the action is over,
Yeah.
Go home.
I love a movie that knows when to end. It's like
the
with
best.
it's why I love Jackie Chan movies. Like Jackie Chan, once the final battle happens, the dude is caught or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's over.
Man, I mean, this Cronenberg's Fly ends perfectly
The
too.
same
Yeah.
way too.
Perfectly.
As soon as he's killed.
I love a movie that like ends right at the end of the third act, no resolution. Like you can assume I feel
Or it's a resolution for like the story, but there may be some things open ended, but like everything,
but like
it's satisfying.
you don't. Yeah, any questions that go unanswered don't need to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So many movies that I go to see, especially if I'm in the theater, it gets to like, all right, the climax is over, and now I'm just like sitting waiting for the credits to roll. And I love when a movie just ends and it's just over, and you're satisfied, and it ended on a high note. It's great. Anyway, it's a really fun movie.
Yeah, the 50s Fly is definitely a blast.
1958.
It's definitely more like I don't want to say family friendly, but like it is a
You could watch it with kids.
You could, yeah. There
It'd
isn't like
scare them probably.
Yeah, there isn't too many like actually really gross out body horror elements.
No, they couldn't really do that back then.
Yeah, no, they just didn't have the
It
technology.
wasn't quite the 70s yet.
I'm looking real quick at the real quick. We're going to talk about the 86 Fly.
Yeah, speaking of movies that know how to end.
Yeah, and I was just looking. We were talking about the makeup effects. I'm just looking on Wiki real quick. The makeup effects were created by Chris Wallace and Stephen Dupuis, and I'm just looking at other movies that they've worked on. Stephen Dupuis worked on RoboCop. He worked on Scanners.
Oh my God, that explains it.
He worked on some of the Indiana Jones movies.
I'm just remembering the guy, the radiated guy who gets hit by the car and just liquefies.
Yeah, that's very this
same
energy.
vibe.
The other guy worked on Gremlins, E.T., I guess some makeup effects.
Gremlins.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, which that makes sense. Mr. Multiface.
Gremlins makes sense.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Mr. Multiface at the end of that movie is burned into my brain. The main.
I think I've just seen it so many times that like
the Nazi
it's no
guy who
longer
melts.
shocking. I just think of like how the effect was probably done.
Yeah, very cool. But
it is super cool.
But yeah, super super well realized effects. But we'll get into that. Yeah. So 1986, The Fly. Starts off with
Is that a picture of a guinea pig on the
on the where?
I think you hovered over
a picture
over like a hyperlink.
thing.
Guinea pig is linked.
In case you need to know what a guinea pig is.
By the way, yeah, I love how someone thought to put that hyperlink there.
Yeah,
It's really funny. Anyway,
people who want to do a movie podcast, Wikipedia is a great tool. So The Fly, released on August 15th, 1986. Yeah, a remake. Loosely based. The original movie is loosely based on a 1957 short story of the same name.
You know what did I say at the end of that? It's like this makes me think of like this would be a really good just short story. Like it feels like it was based on a short story. It really does. Like it's got that like simplicity.
100%.
It's got these like easy to understand, likable characters.
Yeah, like a lot of these basic concepts that like. I feel like with these movies, because both these movies are super short too. That's another reason why it was a great double feature, because it was breezy.
Yeah, they're both really short.
Both movies are just an hour and a half.
They're perfect lengths for the story too.
Yeah. But basically, so this one opens up with we're at like a science expo. It's a Meet the Press event held by Bartok Science Industries, which is like, one of these big evil companies.
And we meet probably my favorite Jeff Goldblum performance that I've ever seen.
Seth Brundle.
He is. After seeing him in this movie, I think that he has been so underutilized in his career. Like he gets cast in such normal guy roles when I think he could just give us so much more after seeing this.
He's all of his roles. I feel like he's known for being pretty subdued.
Yeah,
like
they're so subtle.
He has his Jeff Goldblumisms always.
And I mean, like seeing him at the beginning of this movie where he's just like a kind of weird, quirky scientist. It's so perfect. He is perfect casting for both the beginning and end of this movie. Like he has this like weird charisma where it's like, yeah, he's being awkward and he's being like weird and strange, but like he's odd in a way that isn't like you. It's so hard to put
He rides the balance of like he's just quirky enough to like he's charming.
Yeah.
Like basically once Gina Davis. So first up, he runs into Gina Davis, who's a reporter. Who, my goodness, Gina Davis.
Gina Davis.
he runs into Gina Davis, who's a reporter. He convinces her to come back to his place, which he's trying to flirt and trying to get a hookup.
Yes.
Like
she is too.
Yeah, she is too, but like he's flirting, and it's a little bit creepy for a minute because he just does kind of seem it's a little serial killer-y.
It's just kind of awkward.
His apartment / lab situation. He lives in
this place is gross.
It's like a warehouse. It's literally just like a warehouse or some like.
If you went home, this is the strangest one night stand anybody's had. If a guy took you home, and it's like this warehouse. Like doesn't look like it's like on the outskirts of town and it's like dirty and there's like all these like big like pipes and cables running through the hallway running up to it and the door is on these like big rollers and it like latches shut. Same door as the lab in the basement of the first movie, by the way. No, and then you get into his apartment. And he's got these big, huge, like H.R. Giger looking ass pods.
Yeah, no, that's when you say like, oh, it's a Giger.
Like it's such a like at any point a normal woman would have turned around and been like, this is probably not going to end well for me. So like it's weird. Like they enter and the first thing he does is sit down at the piano and start playing jazz for her.
Starts playing like creepy music, and then when he starts to say like, "Oh, like if you leave, you've seen them. I'll have to kill you.
I'll have to kill you now."
He plays some dark chords, and he's trying to flirt, and he's at this point
hopelessly awkward.
And then he's like, I need to show you, I need an object, like I have an object. And clearly she's interested because she pulls off a stocking.
Yeah.
And gives it to him, and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does his little gold wisdom. And then he teleports her stocking from one pod to the other.
I'm going to teleport. I can't do a Jeff Goldblum.
I don't know.
You got to say some things really slowly and like put a lot of emphasis on things that probably shouldn't have emphasis, and then like kind of stumble over the rest of your words. So it's like hamburger,
cheeseburger.
I can't do it. I know how to do it, but I can't do it.
That cheeseburger line is so incredible when like he. So we'll get to it, but first,
it's fine.
Just real quick through the rest of this scene. She's impressed. She starts recording on her tape recorder.
Yeah.
And then when he sees that she's recording, he's like, whoa, stop.
Wait a second. Don't do that.
I thought this was just a casual thing. I thought we were just hooking up, you know? And
I was using my teleporter to impress you.
I was just trying to get some pussy.
What a weird way to do that.
Yeah, no, what a weird entry point. It's just so clear that like he spends all of his time alone.
Yeah.
And like
I think one of the first thing Gina Davis says to him is like, "You don't get out much, do you?" Like their first conversation is about like espresso machines or something.
Yeah, he's such a recluse, and even down to this point, I feel like Jeff Goldblum. This is going against I think a lot of type that he's known for, because I feel like when I do see a lot of the iconic roles I think of, which really it's just Ian Malcolm and David from Independence Day are like my immediate focal points. Both those characters are like social guys.
Yeah, they're like really charismatic.
Like really just naturally charismatic, but just like hyper. Whereas like this definitely to me feels a little bit against type because he's like way nerdier than I think.
But I think this should be his type.
Yeah.
Like he's got this like weird smart guy, like recluse, like like he pulls off awkward in like a way that real people aren't awkward. Like he's awkward in a really charming way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus his hair is competing with Gina Davis's as far as volume goes. My God.
As volume and craziness. Yeah.
They both have the most 80s ass hair I've ever seen.
The 80s hair is on full effect.
People have.
Both of these movies, The Flies really accentuate the what's it called? The visuals of the times. Like
they're both so of their time. Like they're both time capsules of what movies were at that exact moment. Yeah. It's perfect.
Down to his outfit too. His outfit, like his super skinny, squared off tie.
Square bottom tie. My dad wore that in the 80s, by the way. He showed me pictures. Like, yeah, I used to go out to clubs. I used to wear this tie flat on the bottom. It's real skinny. It's like cool.
I ran into Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
But
he wears the same suit every day. Yeah. Not my dad, Jeff Goldblum in the movie.
Yeah. So then they go out to a diner, and he's like, I have an idea. We should go out. And he does the cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger.
One word.
He's like, I have one word for you. Cheeseburger. And he holds up his hands into her face.
Really softly,
though. Very strange way.
Cheeseburger.
Which that could not have been written into the script that he
Yeah.
does that. That had to have been
that-
something that he just did.
That looked like an inside joke because you see Gina Davis's reaction,
Yeah.
and she like giggles and like she's very clearly smitten.
Yeah.
But that to me
Yeah, she's
definitely,
into him.
which which by the way, we haven't mentioned, like, so I watched the behind the scenes, all the behind the scenes on this Blu-ray. Which by the way, so Courtney got me. My birthday was recently, and Courtney got me the Fly box set from Scream Factory for my birthday.
Yep.
And that's another part of why we're doing this episode. They're both
Which you had already bought yourself.
yeah, which I had already bought myself, and
Like
I had
that day.
I had to return before it was a whole thing. But anyway, I watched all the behind the scenes. And so Jeff Goldblum was the first person to get cast for this movie.
He's so perfect.
Yeah, he is so perfect.
He's perfect for every part of this role.
100%.
He already looks like a bug.
He already looks like the Fly. He's got these just giant
He's got these
expressive
big
eyes.
bug eyes, yeah.
So when you first meet him, like, it looks like he hasn't slept in days.
It does.
You know,
He just looks like this weird disheveled man.
in weeks. But anyway, so Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis were dating at the time. Right before this movie started production. So they were dating before this movie started production.
They were together.
They were together,
They
and
were a couple. Isn't that fucking weird?
Jeff was cast, and the filmmakers were trying to cast for the role of Veronica, with a love interest, and Jeff was like, I think Gina would be perfect for this role, and they were apprehensive because, like, well, it's not really something we genuinely do as far as, like, you know, like, I'll get my girlfriend in the movie or whatever.
Yeah. She is great in this, though.
Oh, she's fantastic, and they decided, like, okay, we're gonna let her audition, but, like, there's no guarantee. We're just gonna pick the best person.
Yeah.
And she was just apparently by far the best out of everybody.
Yeah, she is great.
Like,
She's great for this role.
She just was the character. She's, like, really smart.
Yeah, you were saying, like, speaking of these movies being a time capsule, the original The Fly is like a housewife. That character is just like a housewife who just goes along with whatever her husband tells her to do. And this is like a career-oriented, like, spunky, smoking-ass woman.
Yeah, she's like Lois Lane,
Yeah.
like a hip reporter type, you know. Very, like, you've seen this character a lot in other 80s movies for sure.
Yes.
As far as, like,
shoulder pads, puffy hair.
Exactly. It was a
Sigourney Weaver would have been good.
Sigourney Weaver could have done
what she was reminding me of this whole
Ghostbusters.
movie.
Yeah, you were mentioning Ghostbusters.
I was getting big Ghostbusters
They have
vibes
similar hair.
from, like, the production design and just the way the city felt in general.
Yeah, they could have
like, grimy.
they
kinda
could have
creepy.
played these roles. Like, if Sigourney Weaver was this character and then
Gina
Davis
Davis and
was in
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
they would have swapped, the universe would probably be exactly the same as it is now.
Damn, then Ripley would have had to fight aliens and the Fly.
Yeah.
And Jeff Goldblum's horny ass.
I guess she would have been a little more typecast.
Yeah. So they get a cheeseburger. He reveals, so they make a deal where she's gonna write a book.
Yep.
About
and he's like, you can't write this book until it ends with me going through that teleporter.
Yeah. And actually, before we get to that part, we get
that, but I can't. I'm gonna keep trying and keep failing.
You can't man me through the teleporter. So we get introduced to Stathis though. Before all that,
oh God, this creep.
John Getz, Stathis Borans.
That's okay. So he is Gina Davis's boss, former professor, and ex-lover.
Yeah.
Who still has a key to her apartment and lets himself in
and takes a
against
shower.
her will, with her actively protesting.
Mm-hmm.
And later just straight up stalks her and watches her car, like, overnight.
He's a super creep throughout this whole movie.
He's creepy as hell.
And it's kind of weird because at the end he becomes like a pseudo hero character.
And that's the thing, like, a lot of the time you watch these older movies and you're like, wait, this guy's actually a creep, but the movie agrees with you. The movie's like, yeah, this guy's a creepy stalker. Yes.
Yeah.
That's his character. He keeps hitting on her at, like, really inappropriate times.
Yeah, he's just a fucker. And the whole time he's like just saying, you're only hanging out with Jeff Goldblum because he's hot or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair. But
I feel like a lot of that creepiness was added after the fact just to make you want her and Jeff to be together more.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Seth.
The character?
Yeah.
Stathis Borans.
Stathis. No, I'm talking about Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, Seth Brundle.
Seth Brundle.
The character of Seth Brundle has...
I love that name. It's like a Tim and Eric name.
The character of Seth Brundle has his own has his own Wikipedia page, and
Seth Brundle.
Dr. Seth Brundle, also known as Brundlefly. I don't know why I found that so funny.
Seth Brundle.
Yeah. Everything good?
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know. The character of Brundle was played by Daniel Ultich in Howard Shore's 2008 opera of The Fly.
What?
They made an opera?
No thanks.
2 acts, like a play?
Like on stage?
Yeah, like on stage. It's like a musical.
I'm good.
The
actually.
Fly. Oh my goodness.
That sounds unpleasant to sit through.
I'll look into the. Would you rather
Could be the best thing ever, but I don't think I'll ever want to find out.
Would you rather watch that or the Dune 2000 miniseries?
Well, the opera's probably shorter, so.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Stathis is a fucking creep. So yeah, basically, it's revealed. Jeff Goldblum reveals that there's a little problem with his teleporter right now. He can teleport inanimate objects just fine.
Yeah.
But whenever he tries to send through any organic matter, it gets all fucky. So like.
Yeah, he turns a. We'll get there.
Yeah, I mean we're about there as far as like.
Okay, well he turns a baboon inside out.
Yeah, in a really gross scene,
It's
which
disgusting.
I showed Courtney this movie for the first time, and I had to skip over that scene.
He somehow gets his hands on another baboon after that.
Somehow he's just got a supply of baboons steady and ready to go.
Interesting ape to do this experiment on.
Yeah.
Usually you do like a bonobo or like a no, he's got a baboon.
Yeah.
I guess because they're the ugliest ape.
I guess.
Maybe it's a mandrill. I don't know.
Maybe.
Can't
No,
tell
it's a
the difference.
baboon for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, no, so yeah, he sends it through, and this is the first like showcase of the really gory, crazy effects in this movie.
It kind of hits you like a ton of bricks if you don't know what you're in for.
Yeah, like they teleport it through, and then you see it.
It's just
like
a mess on the floor that's still alive.
Yeah, no,
It's like moving around. It's like clearly in agony.
And it's funnily enough, when we were watching this movie tonight, we split
So the pizza was done.
We split a DiGiorno for dinner, and right when the pizza was done was right before that scene. I was like, "Fuck!"
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd finish eating before this scene.
It was fine.
Yeah,
It was just marinara sauce.
That's what they used in the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really gross. And then Jeff Goldblum and
kept his baboon license after that somehow.
Somehow he got another baboon. But then Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis has sex.
Yep.
Which you were saying, and I never thought about this. Like, it must have been weird.
Is it weirder if you are dating or if you're strangers and it's just work?
Yeah.
Like, is it weirder if there's actually some, like, connection between you and you're being filmed by this big group of people standing around the room?
Yeah. Is it weirder if you're on set? Which I will say this just about their relationship in general. I mean, whether or not, like, it's their real chemistry coming across on screen, they do have wonderful chemistry together in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell.
I mean,
that,
Gina Davis kind of just has chemistry with everybody.
Yeah. With Alec Baldwin, Beetlejuice.
She has chemistry with me through the screen.
Yeah. But no, she yeah, they have sex, and through this sex, Jeff Goldblum realizes what the solution is. He's like, it's the flesh.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's which they never really fully explain.
Yeah, he's like, I need... Because, like, Gina Davis is confused, too, which I guess I don't think you're supposed to fully understand. I think it's just supposed to be like, he's a genius, just
he
roll
figured
with
it out.
Yeah, because he's like, this thing doesn't like flesh. I have to teach it to like flesh.
To go crazy for the
what
flesh.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
What?
Because he sends, like, a steak through it. Gina Davis eats it, and is like, no, it's gross.
Yeah.
It tastes synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, but you'd think that the pelipods would like flesh, but it doesn't like flesh. And I was like, no, I wouldn't think that it would like flesh. I wouldn't think it would like anything, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I'd think it was a machine with no preference whatsoever.
Yeah.
But whatever. But Gina Davis is like, yeah, I'm lost. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he programs the computer in C++ or whatever.
Yeah.
To
really cool computer system.
Is literally cool, which nice. I love after so me and Courtney recently re-released Aliens, Alien, Ridley Scott's Alien in theaters.
Yeah.
For the 45th anniversary. And actually, more accurately, it's in prep for Alien Romulus coming out later this summer.
Yeah. Which I have also seen in 4K and IMAX.
Yeah, like 4 years ago. When
Yeah.
they re-released it again for the 40th.
It's a great experience.
Yeah.
When they do it again in 5 years, you should all see it.
Yeah, no, it was
It's great.
It was crazy to see. There's so many things I didn't like pick up on and realize just watching
It's
it
such
at
a
home.
pretty movie.
It is a gorgeous movie, and it's just so well done. But that's gonna be. I'm gonna try to record an episode with Courtney, just me and them talking about that. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I love these like old. Just any scene where like it's someone just trying to get answers from an old computer system, because like these old 80s computer systems just have some sass.
Yeah, they do.
Where it's like there is no biomass.
Yeah,
does not compute.
I love these. I love the. I don't know who did like the little animations and the graphics for this computer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there is like some CGI in use, and it's really impressive for the time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also just these like like vector art, just line like drawings of flies, and it's clearly like a painting that the computer just somehow like put together.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks really cool. I just like to see that aesthetic used like modern.
Yeah,
It, like in a game specifically would be sick.
pretty bad. I mean, that's pretty much what like Alien Isolation did as far as those kind of graphics. And I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, it seems like Alien Romulus is going to bring some of that like old future.
It's just such a specific, like, I know computers don't render things that look like that, and that's what makes it extra cool.
Yeah, no, it's a really nostalgic kind of like vibe of like this is what, like, I don't know, people think computers are like, type of deal.
Yeah, in the 80s.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically he sends another baboon through that he somehow got,
And it works.
and they're gonna celebrate, but fucking, I never fully got this scene. But basically, like, they're gonna celebrate, and then Gina Davis opens up a letter from
from her old boss.
Of like basically, which by the way we should specify. So Gina Davis works for this. She's a journalist for this science magazine. I think it's called Particle. And Stathis sends her like I think it's like a pre-made thing of like the cover for their next issue.
It looks fucking cool.
It's fucking badass as fuck. It's like Jeff Goldblum, father of teleportation or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's like a lightning bolt striking down on like some.
It looks sick.
Yeah, no. It's your prop from this movie, probably. But it looks like she gets all pissed. She has to like leave and go, like talk shit to Stathis, and she kind of leaves Jeff Goldblum waiting. And Jeff Goldblum proceeds to get drunk and is like paranoid about what she's doing.
Yeah.
Thinking that she's sleeping with Stathis, which I love this scene.
Yeah.
Where he's getting
he's like drunk and jealous, and he's all sweaty, and he's talking to the monkey.
He's talking to the baboon.
Yeah.
And the baboon just looking at him like, yeah, man, fuck her, man.
Yeah. And then he's like, you look fine. You're fine. I'll just go through it fucking now. And he takes a shot and he gets in it.
Yeah.
And that's just what happens.
Yeah. It's a pretty realistic scene. It's nice.
Fuck it. Let's do it now.
Let's do it. And I was saying while we were watching it, that's exactly what happens in like. So did you see the Josh Trank Fantastic Four stick?
No.
Please don't ever.
No.
It's an awful
movie. I'm good.
But it is like exactly what happens in that movie. Like, so the whole time, they're trying to make a portal to some other dimension, like Dimension Z or whatever the fuck, and they make the portal, but they're not allowed to go through it because like they're the scientists that made it.
And then they
they get drunk and they're like, you know what, fuck it, we made it, we should go through it, and they go in.
They do, and then they get superpowers.
And then
Josh Trank is a little piss baby boy on Twitter.
Yeah,
about how his movie sucks and no one likes it.
And about how, like, man, a year ago I had a great version of this movie.
Well, where is it, Josh?
There was apparently some insane. So I want to see. I think that there could be genuinely an amazing documentary about the behind the scenes of that movie, like they did with.
From what I've seen, I don't think that you could get a good movie out of that footage.
No, well, they reshot like 2/3 of it because like apparently Josh Trank was going through a divorce during the time of the movie, and apparently he was just like.
He does have very divorced energy, doesn't he?
Yeah. Apparently, like, there were just days he just didn't show up to set at all, and when he did show up to set, he would show up like drunk, and like was just, It was
yeah, that tracks. And now and then he gets all bitter and angry because his movie sucks.
yeah, and it was apparently a production disaster. But
Yep.
anyway, back to The Fly.
I mean, yeah.
So he goes to the teleporter. They show you the fly that gets into the pod.
Yep.
You see it in there. Through
and
the
you're like,
window.
did it get in? Did it get in? It did.
Mm-hmm. And were you expecting him to look normal when he first came out?
No, but just because of the reputation of this movie, I knew that the transformation was going to be a lot slower.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's what Cronenberg is interested in. Like I said, it's the transformation in the 50s movie is a lot more mental.
Mm-hmm.
Like he gets a fly head and he's just like, this is just now like the fly mind is like taking control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the transformation. But this is like it's this physical and mental.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets out of the teleporter and he's perfectly fine. And it's not what you expect as like the audience, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be like grueling.
Yeah.
Actually,
this is gonna be a whole process, and a whole process it is from this point forward. So yeah, we get these first few scenes where he looks normal, but he's not normal.
No.
And do you want to talk a little bit about his performance? Because this is the point where I saw you really get into the movie.
Yeah, because his performance is so like kind of almost standard Goldblum up until this point, and then he goes from coke to meth. Like he first he's like they're going out. He feels great, and like there's a scene where he's and Gina Davis are like sitting at like a table, and he just keeps dumping sugar into his coffee because he's a fly, and flies love sugar water, as we know from Men in Black.
Sugar in water.
And he's just. It's the exact thing like when someone high on coke is like talking to you and they're like kind of making less and less sense, and you can tell they're like mostly talking to themselves. And he's just talking about how great he feels and how like he's got all this energy, and he's going to be able to do so much. It's like it's one for one, just like a coke addict. And that slowly transforms into meth, where he's like getting sores on his skin. And he's kind of like, you could tell he's like getting like ups and downs, and he's starting to like ramble and not make any sense at all.
And he's got these like little spiny fly hairs growing out of his back through a scar.
He's talking about flesh in a way that just makes no sense and is just kind of scary. Like he's not making any, like he's going from like just coke high to like meth psychosis, and he's pulling it off really well. Like he blew me away in this like kind of like very nuanced, like just losing his mind. But like he's ripped from the very get-go, and we see him do some like crazy acrobatic
some gymnastics.
It's obviously a double, but
yeah. We were talking about during that scene where he's like doing these like flip-de-doos on pipes in his apartment, and I'm like, I don't think that pipe is like a weight like that's not like a load bearing pipe. Like,
and he's doing like the Jurassic Park 3 like swinging around the doing like just gymnastic stuff, and he's like, holy shit. And he activated my fight or flight. When he lands and he turns to Gina Davis, and he's got this like serious expression,
and he's like
he's shirtless walking toward her, and for some reason that just like freaked me the fuck out.
And he was all sweaty, and he was doing the Jeff Goldblum swagger.
I'm like, oh my god, please do not, please stop.
Scary.
No, it's great. And she likes it, and then he becomes just like a flaming asshole to her. Like he's like, now you have to get in. You do it now. And she's like, I don't want to. And then he just turns on her like that, like a real addict would.
And he gets like real pissed. Like, come on, you don't want to fucking do it too. And
You're drag, you know that?
And it's all based around him just wanting to fuck more, because like they're.
Oh yeah, because he can't get enough.
Yeah, because he's just like fucking and fucking and fucking.
Because he's a bug.
And he's like, if you go through, then you'll be able to keep up with me.
Yeah.
No, and he's getting real scary at this point. And
he's
then
got like a little patch of like really thick bug hair on his back.
Fly hair.
It's really disgusting. There's like this close up. I don't know why it bugs me so much. Haha, bug. but she's got these scissors and she's like going to cut the hair off, and it's like, oh, I can feel it. I don't know why I can feel it.
Yeah,
I know he can feel it too.
It's like super gross. His reaction too, like you can tell, like it's like super sensitive to him.
It's like cutting a cat's whiskers. Like, do not do that.
Yeah. So then he decides to go to a bar to find someone who's willing to fuck him.
Yeah.
And he goes into the most 80s bar that ever 80s.
Oh my god, it's like if you've played Call of Duty Cold War, this might be a niche reference. Or probably not, because it's like the biggest franchise in the world. The very first level is like set in this exact bar. Like when you start the game, it's like this exact bar, because that bar is just 80s movies bar.
Yeah.
There's like all this neon. It's all smoky, and there's all these big toughs playing pool and shit.
Mm-hmm. I know it's not
man with the roundest face I've ever seen.
Yeah, he arm wrestles Mario.
Yeah.
I know it's not 80s, but I was saying that like, oh, it's the bar from Terminator 2.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Jeff Goldblum. I need your clothes and, your boots and your motorcycle.
Your clothes. I need your clothes.
Yeah. So then there's this girl who like basically this bar woman who's cast very well as like this like white trashy bar
like
woman,
sort of like biker
girl,
biker babe.
And he's all like, so I'll bet you $100 if I beat you in an arm, if I beat Mario in an arm wrestle, well, and then if I win, I'll take you home and we'll fuck. And then
she's like, says who? Nah, but I am gonna go home with you if you do it.
Yeah. And then he breaks Mario's fucking arm
to the point where the bone pops out.
The bone pops out majorly.
And like, kudos to that guy for not just bending his arm back. That's like commitment.
Mm-hmm.
He breaks that dude's arm, and then he's like, all right, so now you're coming home with me, right? And she's like, yeah.
And she's like, yeah, which like, okay. But there was another really there was a really good line there. We were kind of like going, reacting over the scene, but there's a little moment where, during this whole sequence, Jeff Goldblum, you see him like constantly eating like candy and like really sugary foods and stuff.
Oh my god! So he's eating all this chocolate.
He's eating all these chocolate bars.
Get really bad.
Yeah, and when Jeff Goldblum sits down to arm wrestle the dude's buddy goes, "You better be careful. He eats chocolate bars." And it's just a really funny line.
That is really good.
This movie is I always forget how surprisingly funny it is.
It is way funnier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a serious movie.
Yeah,
but a lot of the humor just comes from Jeff Goldblum. Especially as like his sickness progresses, just like being a normal guy, and like he's had time to like think this through and just be like, well, this is just happening to me, so I might as well just be a scientist about it and document it.
Yeah, I might as well just like be as like proactive as I can be.
Guess I'm gonna be a bug now. I guess I'm a bug. That's funny.
And there's some really good moments when he does start to go full fly, which we're gonna get into soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, basically he breaks this dude's arm, takes Tawny back to his apartment. He teleports in front of her. They fuck, and then she's like, "We gonna go to breakfast now?"
Yeah, and he's like, "No, you do it now. You teleport."
Yeah, and she doesn't want to do it. And then we get the iconic line from this movie, which has been referenced in a bunch of stuff. He tries to throw Tawny in the telepod, but then Gina Davis pops up, and she's like, "No, be afraid. Be very afraid."
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm looking at, and we'll see why, but this movie won the Oscar that year for best makeup.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I wonder what it was up against that
It's
year.
insane. All these different little stages of his like progression. Because like even at this point, you can see his face is like all broken out, and he's starting to like get like a little bit more unnatural looking.
Mm-hmm. There were only 3 movies that it was up against, and I know one of them. I haven't seen it was up against The Clan of the Cave Bear, which is a movie that is a
cool
movie
poster though.
Cool poster. It has been lost to the river of time because I've never fucking heard of it.
Never heard of it. I mean, it's a really cool poster though. I'd have that up.
And Legend.
Legend.
It was up against Legend.
I haven't seen that movie since I was younger than 10, I think.
I've not seen Legend, but I've heard very good things about it.
I mean, there is good makeup in that movie.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise sparkles a lot.
Oh.
He's got a lot of body glitter on in that movie.
Well, there's a movie to do an episode on.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but anyway, and then basically she Gina Davis is telling
like, I live with my mother.
Yeah.
Insult to Gina Davis, even though he looks way worse than she does in this moment.
100%. She tells him like, I took your hairs to a lab. And they said it was fly hairs, which you were saying, like, what lab?
Yeah. Where do you go for that?
Where did you take it?
Whatever. It's a movie. It's a line in a movie.
Yeah, and then
It's bug hair. You have bug hair. You bug, and he's like, "Fuck you, go away."
Yeah. And then she tries to help him, and then he kicks her out.
Yep.
And then we
and she's like, "You're looking bad. You're getting like sick. Like you need help." He's like, "Fuck you, go away." And then like the scene later, he calls her and is like, "You were very right. I'm very sick."
Yeah. Shit. Oh, did I unplug you again?
Yeah.
God damn it.
It's all good.
My bad. Fucking too many cables. But there we go. That good?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and then we get the first scene of like the real body horror starting to come in, where his nail falls off.
Yeah.
And then
oh my god, that scene
in front of the mirror, and he like squirts.
It's like this white liquid comes out of his fingertips.
This pus.
Oh, yeah. Like it's like pure white, like the android blood in Alien.
In Alien, absolutely.
Yeah, he like pulls off his fingernails. Oh my god.
Must have been a surplus on like milky white goo.
There's some the 80s just love that shit, I guess.
That like white cum blood. But yeah, no, so he starts peeling his nails off. I think he loses a tooth in that scene too.
Yeah, I think so.
And then he goes to the computer, and there's a little funny, another like really funny bit, which is like, oh, it just totally makes sense.
He's like, what went in?
He has these like mechanic gloves on, these like work gloves on while he's typing because his fingernails are fucking falling off.
Yeah.
And basically, yeah,
Peter's like, yo, there was a fly in there with you. Now you're part fly.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And there's a pretty funny dramatic reveal where his eyes go super wide, and it's like dun dun dun.
And he's like, a fly, me.
That's the name of the movie. Yeah, and then we skip a few, I think, a month.
He calls Gina Davis, and he's like, I'm very sick. You were right.
You were right.
You should come here and check out how fucking sick I am.
Yeah. And then she comes over, and the first stage of his like real, like
he's like coming out. He's got these like crutches,
and he's all sickly,
and he's like his skin's all like gross and callous looking, and he's like, yeah. So I guess I'm a fly.
Yeah.
And he's like not really like that depressed about it. He's just like come to terms with it.
He's kind of accepted it.
He gets his little mini donuts and he pukes on.
Yep. He regurgitates on them.
And he's like, oh, that's disgusting. And I heard that line, and it could either mean like, oh, that's the first time that's happened, that's gross. Mm-hmm. Or it could mean like, oh, I've been doing that whole time. I didn't even realize it was gross until I saw your reaction.
And the front of his shirt is covered in his like bile.
Yeah, so he must have just been doing that this whole time to eat. And been like, oh, yeah, shit, I guess I didn't even realize how gross that is.
I've been used to just, like, doing it. Fuck, I didn't even think about how gross
And then his ear falls off, which is, like, you picked a really good time to show up, Gina Davis, because, like, that was the exact moment his ear fell off. And he does react in, like, a really, like, convincing, like, oh, no, my ear.
He's really freaking out about it. You can tell, like, he's just... Like, it's still the man in there in his head, and he's just, like, really... And this is actually... And then she hugs him.
She gives him like this really close hug, and her face goes on the side with the ear hole. And she presses up against him, and for some reason, this is like one of the grossest things in the movie.
There are a lot of like factually grosser things, but that in particular was just ugh. And apparently, you know what's funny? Apparently, in the behind the scenes, they talk about that scene in particular, and apparently Gina Davis, acting in the moment, she didn't think about necessarily how gross it is, because like she's like thinking as an actress, like well, listen, this is someone like that I love, that I care
and
about,
he's suffering, and I want to comfort him.
And apparently, when she saw the movie for the first time, like with an audience in a theater, she was surprised that like people went, and she was shocked by it.
It is fucking gross.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be gross if you were Gina Davis in that scene. I can understand why you'd hug this person and not care how gross it is. But as an outsider watching that, it is the grossest thing in the movie.
It's like, and this scene's a really pivotal scene in that, like, it speaks to the overall metaphor of this interpretation of the fly, which is really like it's a metaphor directly for cancer and other like degenerative illnesses, because it's the core fear that this movie touches upon that's like really smart is the idea of watching somebody else, if they have cancer, or even to an extent, like way as mine goes, somebody, has Alzheimer's or dementia or something.
Yeah.
Seeing somebody that you love be
Just
transformed,
fall apart. Yeah.
falling apart and transforming,
Just fading away in like a really grotesque kind of way.
Yeah, like it taps into like that kind of primal fear, and I
Like
feel
that,
like
that's a certain kind of horror that like sticks with you because it's
Yeah.
real.
yeah, for sure. And there's like, and he even says in the movie, like it seems like it's showing itself as some kind of strange cancer,
Yeah.
which it definitely adds. And it's
You can
It's cool.
definitely see that.
it's a much more realistic interpretation of being fused with a fly, like versus like you just get like a big fly head,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It's not exactly like a 50s pulp sci-fi version.
Yeah,
It's a lot more of like, oh, I'm going to die of this.
it makes any horror elements of the 50s fly really seem like a fucking kids card. It seemed like fucking
Yeah.
Power Rangers.
That said, I did still freak out when that spider was about to eat that guy.
Yeah, the end of the first one still is pretty creepy. But yeah, so then she goes back to Stathis. Stathis is like, I want you to record him. So she goes back again.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite stage of sorry.
Goldfly.
What?
Goldfly.
Goldfly of a Brundlefly.
Brundlefly, which he calls himself. He's even like, and I guess I'll just be Brundlefly, and he
Yeah.
like laughs a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
there's
so weird.
I
He's
love the
so
little-
lighthearted about it.
I love the little line where he goes like, the machine mated us before we even got to
we weren't
introduce
even, we weren't even introduced.
you. Yeah, he's so. It's such a great balance
Because
with it.
honestly, like speaking to that like cancer thing, it's like if you knew someone with cancer, like they're not going to be like serious and dour about it the whole
Yeah.
time. Like they're going to like make little jokes to like cope with it.
Yeah, it's a really good it is so realistic in terms like that is just like our I've always said that I'm about to get dark on this podcast.
Hell yeah.
I wrote my college essay about so my grandma passed away of cancer
Yeah.
when I was in high school, and I wrote about that experience combined with seeing the movie 50-50,
Yeah.
which have you heard of the movie 50-50?
Yeah. Yeah.
With Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and like he's got cancer, and
Mhm.
like him, and it's a comedy about having cancer.
Judd Apatow, I think.
Yeah, Judd Apatow, and it really just kind of showed me how like it is like humor really is like our greatest tool
Mhm.
against like that kind of intimate adversity, and it's so realistic and it's so human, and it's a big part of why you're so sympathetic to Jeff Goldblum's character.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this movie, because it goes beyond just like, well, you fuck around, you find out.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's not just like some weird morality tale about working too hard or whatever.
it's just like this really unfortunate thing that
It's
happened
just,
to this
to
good
this
guy.
this guy that Gina Davis cared about. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because it made me think about there's like a scene in 50 First Dates.
50-50.
50.
Is that the Adam Sandler movie?
Yeah, that's the Drew Barrymore Adam Sandler whole different crossover event.
Huh.
Where it's like he goes up to a girl in a bar, and Seth Rogen's like, dude, you got to use your cancer to like pick up chicks. He's like, how the fuck do I use? No, the girls, you'll be sympathetic. They love that shit. And he just goes up and he's like, hi. She's like, hey, I've got cancer. But anyway, so this second stage of Brundlefly, he's crawling on the walls, and that effect looks incredible.
Oh my god, they did the Inception thing before Inception.
They did the Inception
Probably
thing
like 30 years before Inception.
better than the Inception thing, really.
It's good. I don't know if it's better. Because, I mean, the Inception thing had the hallway flipping both ways. Like, he fell down it. He was like, they did a whole fight scene in it.
Yeah.
In this, he's crawling on the ceiling. And it does look really cool.
Yeah. It does look really good. He's getting more bug-like in his mannerisms at this point.
Yeah.
I think is the biggest state, because he's crawling around the walls. It appears like he's less in pain.
Yeah.
And he's going.
He's becoming more bug-like.
He's becoming more bug-like, and he's like, oh, I'm becoming
Bud Light.
180 pound fly.
I can't do it.
He's just got like his little ticks and mannerisms are so good.
Yeah, he does like these little, and he's like looking around. He's like all distracted, and his eyes are just so big in these prosthetics. Like especially later on, I think it seems like he's got like one of those big contacts in, like from District 9. Which District 9, I could see some real like influence from this movie in.
Yeah, as far as like the body transformation and how we get to where
absolutely.
we're gonna
But yeah, no, his performance is like perfect. Like he starts to like look around and kind of tick and twitch a lot. It looks great.
Yeah, and then it's around this point in the movie where we get the reveal. We hit a whole new level of body horror. Really, it's revealed that Gina Davis is pregnant.
Oh my god.
With I was about to say
Fly Baby.
with the Fly Baby. And there's a really effective, and immediately she's like, I'm getting an abortion.
Yes, which is like we were both like, that is the right move. Do that.
That's the call.
Yeah.
Like this is the biggest like pro-abortion ad ever fucking created.
If you are impregnated with a half man, half fly, do it.
Yeah.
There's not even like it should not even a conflict.
Yeah. There's a really effective. It ends up being a dream sequence, but it's a really effective like abortion.
Oh my god, it freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, it was really crazy. And
Cronenberg himself is the abortion doctor sucking out the baby.
Yeah.
And Gina Davis pushes out a big ass larva that like squirms around,
like
and it
squirmy.
was actually horrifying.
And all of the doctors see it and are freaking out. At like everyone's reactions are really what sells it.
And she wakes up. And I was like, "Oh my god, thank God!" Like
Yeah.
I felt actual relief.
That it was a dream.
Yeah, no, that was very effective horror for me.
Yeah, there's it's something. I feel like this speaks to the power of practical effects.
Yeah,
In that like
if that would have been
like there is some incredible CG creations. Like computers are capable of generating so many incredible images in these like science fiction, horror. But at the end of the day, one of the biggest advantages that that practical effects and makeup and costumes are always going to have over computer generated images are seeing actors' reactions.
Yeah.
And them actually being able to look at what's supposed to be a threat.
And holding something and like feeling its weight and
Yeah.
And honestly, slime.
Yeah, and goo.
Slime just looks so much better when it's real.
Everything's fucking wet and like
you can
bloody
just tell
and
it's
pussy
there. You can tell that's real slime
and sweaty,
Yep.
and like people like that's the thing. Like when Gina Davis hugs Jeff Goldblum, that's real slime that she's getting on her. You know, just so fucking good. And then you see like we're kind of in the final stages of Goldblum's.
She tells him she goes there to tell him that she's pregnant, but she can't get it out because, and this scene is honestly probably the hardest hitting point of this like cancer allegory because he's before she even shows up, he's like in the bathroom and his teeth start to fall out. And is like he opens the cabinet and is just like, this is like now the history of who I was. Like it's like got his ear, it's got like all these body parts that have fallen out, and it's like you can tell like he's making jokes about it, but you can tell he's like really like saddened by it. And she shows up and he like warns her off. He's like, "Soon I'm going to like be a bug," and the thing about he goes is like this really roundabout way of saying it, which is perfect for his character. He's like talks about like, bugs don't have politics. I'd like to be the first bug politician. She's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Please just spit it out, whatever you're trying to say." And he's like, I'm going to be an insect. Insects are brutal killing machines, essentially. If you're around me, I'm going to hurt you, so you need to leave and never come back. And it's the saddest fucking scene.
Yeah, no, it's really tragic. But both of these movies are pretty sad, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially like,
I mean, yeah, they're both tragedies.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, no, and then she leaves like really distraught.
Yep. And she's like, I need to go get this abortion right now, even though it's like 5 a.m.
Yeah. And secretly, Jeff Goldblum, Brundlefly, was watching from the rooftop.
Yep.
And heard that she was pregnant and is like, oh, shit. So then she goes to the hospital. The doctor's giving her a fucking hard time.
They both are. He's like, I just don't understand. Like, I'm sensing a little apprehension. It's
this is
like,
a pro-choice.
From who?
This is a pro-choice podcast, by the way.
It's like, who are you getting this apprehension? And she's like, I want this thing out of me right now. And he's like,
are you
do
sure?
you really? And it's like, how convincing does she have to be? but she does convince him, and it's like that a scare that actually got me, an earned jump scare, you might even say.
Mm-hmm.
She's sitting and waiting, like he's like, here, put on this robe and we'll get going, and then the other guy leaves the room, and she's just got this like quiet second alone, and then fucking Brundlefly busts through the wall like Kool-Aid Man.
He's like, oh yeah,
fucking scared the shit out of me.
And his his body is like all bulbous. He looks like chewed gum at this point. Like he's so
he's
gross,
disgusting. He's all slimy, and he grabs her, and runs off. And then, like, they have this conversation, and you can tell his mind is, like, half gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's, like, not really making any sense anymore.
You know, he's like, why would you want to get rid of the baby?
The baby is me. Why do you want to kill Brundle?
Me? Yeah.
Like, why do you want to kill Brundle? I'm no longer Brundle. Brundle is the baby. It's like, this guy's insane.
He's going on, like, pure animal instinct at this point.
Yeah, and it's just sad. It's like watching someone with dementia.
Yeah.
But it's also terrifying because she can't get away from him because he's got like super strength.
He's got super fly strength.
Yeah.
No, it's really, and like you were saying, at this point, Goldblum is really just terrifying at this point.
Yeah, it's a scary movie.
Yeah.
Like he is a scary character, and he's just killing it every step of the way. Like, he is perfect for this role.
He plays a great monster. It really is his vehicle. There's nobody else in this time period who could have played this role.
Yeah. No, not as well as this.
You had said Bill Murray, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Please, no.
I was just thinking, like, an alternate universe where Bill Murray was the Fly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he'd care enough about the movie. I don't think he's cared about any movie he's ever been in, except for, like, Wes Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's really sad. And he's like, here's my plan, and he can like barely speak English. And this is also in the original, where like their vocabulary starts to break down, and they can kind of. She's like making a bed for herself.
Yeah.
Their vocabulary breaks down, and he's like kind of speaking in like these like fragmented little sentences. And he's like, I go in that pod, you go in that pod. We both go in the third pod. And he's like, I will bind us, the
together.
Three of us. We will be one family as one person.
We will be more human than I am alone.
More human than I am alone.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, why the fuck would she want that? Why would she want to merge with this fucking horrible monster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but his mind is just gone at this point. He's just become an insect. He's thinking like an insect.
Yeah. Then Stathis rolls in with a shotgun,
an over under,
a gun.
Yeah.
And Goldblum gets the jump on him.
Yeah. And he vomits the acid on his hand, and then he vomits his leg off.
Yeah, and it's so
very disturbing.
It's so nasty. And
he's like ah.
You can see that Goldblum, like that Brundlefly, is like really enjoying it. Like,
yeah. Oh my god. And he's like just like curiously looking at him with these like big Goldblum eyes. It's like so unsettling.
Yeah, and he's about to acid his face when Gina Davis is like, "No, stop, wait."
She rips off his jaw.
And then she rips off his jaw, and then
his jaw moves on the floor.
Yeah, and then we get revealed like the final.
His face splits open, his legs flips. Now he's like a big tall fly man.
He's like a big tall fly.
Very reminiscent of The Thing.
Yeah, and this creature design is so good. It was burned into my head as a kid. And
it's still got these like big human eyes too.
Yeah, the in the what's it called? In the behind the scenes on the Blu-ray, I don't know why they call it that. Like I didn't catch why they refer to this creature stage as the space bug.
I can kind of get it.
Yeah, I'm
it's like a nice shorthand.
Yeah,
because like if you call it the Fly, it's like what the fuck are you talking about?
He's always the Fly.
Yeah, exactly.
And his like legs morph into like it's the human. Any human that's left is melting off.
Yeah, it's pretty. All that's left that's human is like how big it is, and it's like really fleshy looking still. But yeah, it almost succeeds. It locks Gina Davis in the pod.
One of the pods.
And it enters the other pod. And then
Stathis wakes up.
Shoots the pod Gina Davis is in, so it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And then as the fly is busting out of the pod, he teleports and
while he's halfway through the pod
and merges with the pod, and the computer says like it's half Brundlefly, half pod.
Yeah.
So now he's got like this big section of pod in his midsection,
Just like stuck.
and it's just this thing writhing in agony on the floor.
Yeah, like it's clear that it's in so much pain and it's still alive.
Oh my
unfortunately,
God. This movie is very disturbing if you haven't been able to tell.
No, it's super dark. It's got everything.
Yeah,
like it's got humor. There definitely are just some like really funny moments, but it just gets so dark, and disturbing and sad, and like you feel the whole range of emotions.
My favorite kind of movie.
Yeah,
full range.
It's a wild fucking ride.
Yeah. So and Gina Davis picks up the shotgun, and we're both just like, shoot it in the fucking head. She hesitates. She points, and this matches up with the theme and what we've been talking about, the cancer stuff, but like we're both just like, she's like got all this like reservation. She points it at his head. She drops it, and I was like, no, I wouldn't have any hesitation about shooting this thing in the head.
Yeah, no.
After the day we've had.
And then even he, like the creature, like holds the fucking barrel up to its
it wants
head.
her to kill it because it's in so much pain.
Yeah. And then she blows its fucking head off, and then the movie ends.
Yep.
And then
the movie ends immediately after she kills it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then unfortunately they make the Fly Part 2 about she has the baby.
Is it good?
No.
Oh.
I was just looking at real quick
give me your brief review of the Fly Part 2.
By the way, the tagline for the Fly 2 is like father, like son.
Oh. That's lazy.
Apparently
like Flyther like fun.
This sequel is directed by one of the two special effects guys from the first movie.
Okay.
Not by Cronenberg.
That tends to be a bad sign.
Yeah.
When an effects guy is directing a movie. Because like on paper that sounds cool, but that has been so disastrous.
Yeah.
Like historically.
I'm going to real quickly spoil. Do you care about spoilers for The Fly 2?
No.
I'm going to real quickly just try to like.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. So the only, from what I remember, it's also been a while since I've seen it. There are some decent like creature effect type moments.
Yeah.
Like there's a really effective like kind of like dog amalgamation creature mutant thing that's really
like
good.
The Thing?
Kind of. It doesn't. The pod in that movie. You know what's weird? It doesn't turn things inside out like literally like this. It just kind of transmorgifies things.
Okay.
But basically, okay. So like, so Gina Davis has the baby, and she dies during childbirth, and the baby seems normal at first.
Yeah.
But it grows like hella fast. So like the movie, Eric Stoltz plays, I forget the character's.
That sounds effectively disturbing.
Yeah, it is. But the way it is, Martin Brundle. So when he's so Martin Brundle when he's 10 years old, he looks like he's like 25.
Okay.
And so like
Does he still act like a 10-year-old?
Kind of, but he's hella smart. He's like super, super, super smart.
Oh.
And
I think it would be creepier if he was still just like a little kid in like an adult body.
I think the whole thing that's the worst part about the movie, from what I can remember, is that like, so he's like kind of a prisoner of Bartok. So he's raised in a lab, and all the scientists in the lab tell him that like you have this like genetic disease that you inherited from your parents, and we're trying to cure you, and they don't
exactly 1/4 fly,
and they don't tell him that it's the fly thing. It's just like all he knows is like you're aging too rapidly.
Okay.
And then they have the telepods in there, and they're trying to make the telepods work, and the whole thing is like they're using his brains to like try to make the telepod work.
It's just it sounds like a lot of 80s sequels where you had this like beautiful simple story in the first one, and then you just had to make a sequel, and you're like trying to like integrate all these like,
the worst part of it is like, and I'm going to show you it, so at the end of the movie that's it. Actually, the ending is pretty cool. The main bad guy, so he learns that like he can cure himself if he can use the pods to transfer his fly genes to somebody else.
Okay.
Like that's the solution. Like I can cure myself, but I'll have to give my bullshit to someone else. Will have to be the host. It can't be hostless.
Okay.
So
can't just like you can't just take like a cow or something.
You know, they never say that if they can't use a human. Like, if
Why
they,
does it have to be a person?
I don't know. But there's a big mean scientist man who's the main bad guy who, at the end of the movie, he basically forces this man to take his fly genes.
Okay.
And he does. Now, the
Cool.
worst thing about the movie is that the final creature because at the end of the movie, he starts to transform into a creature, and the creature doesn't have the sauce. I'll show you.
Man.
It's not nearly as cool. It doesn't. It looks.
You don't have that vision. You don't have that Cronenberg vision.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. You'd think that with so that's the creature that he turns into.
It looks like Mad God.
Yeah, it looks like a Power Rangers alien.
Oh yeah, why is it? Yeah, it looks like cartoony.
Yeah, no,
Why does it have like such an angry? It looks like a gremlin.
Yeah, no, it looks like something. It looks like something I'd fight in Resistance: Fall of Man.
Yeah, why is it? It has such like a human. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not nearly.
Yeah,
as,
it does look like a cartoon.
Yeah, and there are some other good designs like
It
that's
does
like
look like Mad God a little
that.
bit.
This is the dog creature that I was talking about
Okay.
in the movie, and it's okay. It doesn't have nearly the sauce. That
Yeah,
the
no,
first
I'm
one
good.
does.
I'm good on that. I think I got my body horror fix.
Yeah, but no, not as good. Also, I think the biggest thing is like Eric Stoltz is Martin Brundle.
Yeah.
Is the Brundle, and you just can't beat Goldblum.
No.
in
He
this
is.
movie.
He's like half of why I like this movie. He's so good.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, as far as like, yeah, I agree with, oh, so interesting. I'm just like glancing at the 1958 The Fly page. The two sequels to The Fly are both black and white,
Interesting.
which honestly makes
Lower budget.
which honestly makes me more interested in watching them.
Probably like B and C movies at that point.
Yeah, we're getting real. The Return of the Fly and The Curse of the Fly.
You should watch those and let me know what you think.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a quick episode on them.
Yeah, there we go.
Curse of the Fly was rarely seen for many years, and it was the only entry in the Fly film trilogy
Fly podcast.
that did not receive a videotape, laserdisc, or online release. It didn't receive a home release until its home video premiere in 2007. It was released
Whoa.
when it was released in a box set with the original series of films. So
That's how you know it's good.
it came out in 1965.
No one wanted it.
And we weren't able to own it till 2007.
Nobody wanted it.
I really want to watch them. Sorry. Oh, and then the main character's name is Martin. Sorry.
Cool.
But
Probably intentional.
anyway, but yeah. So like, as far as this movie goes, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a classic.
Yeah. They both are.
It's pretty much just gotten better every time I watched it.
It's great. No, I wasn't expecting to like it nearly as much.
Yeah. I guess my main question at this point now is like, I've got two questions. One, do you have any complaints or anything you think could have made the movie better?
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I think since I just watched it, so I'm still
So
like buzzing
time
about how
to-
much I like it. But
Buzzing.
I'll probably have once I see it again, I'll probably note more. But honestly, like I had a great time watching this. I think it was a really really solid movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, it's super effective. What is now? My second question. So if they were to make another The Fly, who should direct it?
Oh yeah.
And you cannot say Adam Driver as the star.
So yeah, my thing when I walked in here.
We had said Ari Aster when.
Yeah, I was thinking.
earlier.
I was imagining like since these movies are such like time capsules. I was thinking of like a modern one. And I was thinking like an A24.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as far as like directors that are really good at making me uncomfortable, either like an Ari Aster or like a Darren Aronofsky, The Fly would be really creepy.
I could see a Darren Aronofsky The Fly.
It probably wouldn't be as funny,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also fine with that. And as far as a star goes, I don't know. What even is a movie star anymore, man?
That's a good question. I literally just had a thought about, you know what could be cool?
What?
If they did another The Fly, and I think, hear me out. I think it should be a woman.
Okay. The Fly S.
It can still be the Fly. Fly is a gender neutral term.
The She Fly.
Well, because I think you could like tie it into like I feel like you could tie it into like all these like questions like about like body image and like these representations about like the kind of like beauty expectations of like having to like what women and feminine presenting people are expected to like have their appearance be and like fit into a specific body type. I feel like
you could also do some like alien style gross like birth horror because flies lay eggs.
Yeah.
You could do a lot of really just general like reproductive horror. Could be a really good avenue. Yeah, no, that could definitely work.
100%. There's like a fly woman creature going around just fucking a bunch of dudes.
Adam Driver would be an interesting choice. I don't know if anybody has that kind of personality on screen anymore. Everybody's so one note at this point. Like who like you look at like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Jeff Goldblum or even like all these so many actors of like the 80s and 90s had their like personalities on screen, and now like who the fuck is Timothée Chalamet? He's just whoever the fuck you want him to be.
Yeah, the main thing that we don't, the powers that be with like actors now, aren't necessarily looking for people with like interesting like quirks or idiosyncrasies. Like
it's such a conveyor belt now that they just want a serviceable man who looks good.
People who are either conventionally hot, or attractive in unique ways. Like the immediate person that came to mind is someone like Barry Keoghan, who like Barry Keoghan is like not someone you consider traditionally attractive.
I think he's just too unappealing to be a protagonist like that. Like he's just such a creepy guy.
Yeah, but he's also a very subdued actor. Like I feel like you need somebody to like for this.
I want someone with a lot of charisma, but it's so hard to find someone with that kind of like strange charisma where you're still kind of odd.
This might be a take. I feel like Andrew Garfield could do a good job.
Yeah,
as far as like, because he's definitely played,
especially
like,
because he's a little older now.
There's a movie,
because that guy, he's very charismatic on screen.
There's a movie starring him that I started watching, and it's kind of like a neo-noir type movie where it's like he's not a detective. He's like kind of like a shitty California dude who like doesn't have a job and is like just really shitting through life, and he's like
The Social Network.
No, but it's like a detective story. It's like a weird, what the fuck is it called? It's like Under the Crystal Lake or like Black Lake.
Okay.
Wait a second, I gotta find it. Under the Silver Lake. Movie. I started watching it and I was enjoying it, but it kind of got like a little bit too dark for me at the time. Like, but it is really good, and he plays that kind of like, his character is like a kind of fidgety and I think
that's probably a really good pick.
Yeah,
I steal that. That's my pick.
Andrew Garfield. Yeah, but who could be my lady fly? That's what they gotta call.
So that's the thing too. Is like it's hard to find. I don't know.
Zendaya.
Yeah, I guess
could be the sequel to Challengers. That new movie with her. Which that movie's apparently been getting good reviews.
You know, that movie was written by the potion seller meme guy.
I didn't.
The guy who did the YouTube video, the potion seller. I need your strongest potion. I'm going into battle. Look up look up potions. Not right now, but
later.
Potion seller video. That guy wrote that Challengers movie. That's probably going to win an Oscar.
That's so funny. Yeah, there's a lot of buzz about Zendaya's performance in that. Like, I'm just trying to think. I want to try to pick a lady.
Zendaya seems so bland to me and always has. I don't know.
Pick a lady fly. I'm trying to think of
actors with a personality on screen. I think that's generally discouraged.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, maybe like
especially female actor.
I feel like Jennifer Lawrence is pretty underrated.
You know what? I was thinking Jennifer, but I didn't know if I was just thinking Jennifer Lawrence because I was thinking of Darren Aronofsky.
And I was thinking of Mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that was that was the thought process.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of somebody who's who can be like super unhinged. The fucking what's her name? The overly obsessed girlfriend YouTube star.
Yeah.
Honestly, we just need to like get a bunch of like exhausted YouTube stars to come back and play.
Yeah.
He's like
Get Aubrey Plaza.
There's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
She's got
I'd
some.
let her audition.
She's got some Goldblum.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a fly.
Because I mean, yeah, because she's got range too.
Michael Cera.
That's your female fly.
Wait, no. I know who should be. I know who should be the fly.
Okay.
I can't think of any female examples, but I just thought of the perfect
Okay.
man fly.
Hit me with it.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Because he's so fucking unlikable. You're right. Because he's already basically a bug.
Pretty much.
I fucking hate Jesse Eisenberg. And listen, I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but everything I've ever seen him in, he's the most unlikable person I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
He's just so like he's off-putting to me.
Jonah Hill is the fly.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Post in the comments below who you think would be the right actress to play the fly.
Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
I just want to see Jesse. He's
in a lot right now.
His
star is shining.
He's making big buzz in that Civil War movie.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm planning on seeing that.
It's the only reason I'm afraid to see the Civil War movie.
Why?
It's a little too real. Like
I don't think there's ever any chance of California and Texas teaming up.
Well, just the idea of like civil unrest in America.
I've heard it's not very political.
Yeah, no. Like I've read the plot and I see that like okay, it is like definitely more of a what if. Like the conflicts that lead to the events of like the Civil War in that movie are never fully explained from what I understand.
It's just the concept of
but
whatever.
It's still Anyway, let's talk about props.
Oh yeah.
I want to pick a prop from each movie.
I don't know if so here's my prop for the first one. I don't know if this counts as a prop, but if it does, I'll take it. I just want the head.
Oh damn.
I just want the fly head.
The fly head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to put that on a shelf. I think it looks fucking cool.
Put it on the shelf. Or like just have a really fun Halloween costume. And then like put like a trash bag on your arm and be
it's just so fuzzy.
It's so fuzzy. It's really cool. It's cute.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy.
It's disturbing too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like it's a good. You know what? Actually, you know what I think is a big element of what kept that head really creepy for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but in my brain, the fly head was like mascot head size, like giant. You know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean.
Like wait, hold up.
I think I know because I was honestly I think that was the image in my head too, was that it was just huge.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna
massive,
be massive. Yeah, Baxter Stockman energy.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be massive too.
Was what I thought it was gonna be.
But it's small.
It's correctly
proportionate to his body.
It's correctly proportioned. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your prop?
I guess based on that, I either want to take the goggles.
Yeah.
They're little goggles. They're little Apple Vision goggles.
Yeah.
Or like the big circuit board, vacuum tube circuit boards with the neon lights.
Okay.
Those are really pretty. And then in Cronenberg's Fly, what do you want? Most things seem kind of gross in there.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of inevitable that you're going to take something gross. I would take the magazine, but I could honestly just print that out and just have it now. I think I'd just take like his ear.
The ear that fell off.
The ear that falls off. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah. It's in like a petri dish, like in his cabinet. Yeah. I just have it like that.
Yeah.
In my medicine cabinet.
Maybe Stathis's melted hand.
Oh, that's good.
It like fully melts. It's not like even a limb that comes up.
Foot?
Actually, wait. I saw in the behind the scenes, the actor that plays Stathis took his foot home.
That's
like
cool.
He has his foot prop.
That's awesome.
That's really funny. If I was an actor, I would definitely keep shit like that. Like I always found the. Did you ever watch Doctor Who at all?
Yeah.
Growing up, do you remember? I think it was one of the David Tennant ones. He regenerated and like he cut his hand off.
Yeah.
And because like it was a fresh regeneration, like his hand grew back, and he kept his old hand in a jar, like on the TARDIS.
That's cool.
Yeah, but fuck.
This was a hard one. It's kind of slim pickings in this movie.
Maybe one of the pods. I really like the design of the pods.
The pods are cool.
They're creepy. They're like you said. They're very Geiger.
Yeah, they're creepy looking. They got all these. They're black and they have these like ridges.
Curved mechanical.
Yeah.
Type deal.
They're creepy looking.
His computer is cute.
I do like his computer.
His computer, well, it's got a whole 12 megabytes.
It's got like the 80s keyboard on it.
The 80s keyboard, the clickety clackety keyboard. Maybe his work gloves that he wore when his fingernails were falling off.
Yeah, those are good. They're
That's
probably
kinda
goopy
fun.
on the inside though.
Facts. True. No, his.
It's hard to pick something that isn't just like a body part that fell off.
Yeah, maybe his like red tie, his like red thin flat
There you
bottom
go.
tie.
That's a good pick.
That could be.
And you could be like, this was in The Fly.
Actually, no.
This is the Fly tie.
I know what I want. I want Gina Davis's tape recorder. Actually,
can I just have Gina Davis?
yeah, I was about to say. I don't know if I display it, but I know what I want the larva.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, I want
absolutely.
the larva to
yeah,
put
you
on the
display it. Why wouldn't you display it?
Display it, and then if you could have like a little motion sensor that, like, when someone goes near it to look at it, it starts moving.
You know what? Put it in like a jar of slime.
Yeah.
And then it like wiggles around in the jar.
Put it in the fridge.
There you go. In the fridge.
No, well, it's the same principle as like in Aliens, the face huggers, which I don't remember what we said for a prop for that, but I definitely want a face hugger in a jar.
Yeah.
And I'll put it next to my fly larva jar.
Absolutely.
I'll just collect my jarred creatures.
That's genius.
Horror
Honestly, yeah. Just have a bunch of jars of creepy beings.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yes,
Good movies, fun movies.
Great movies. Yeah.
Watch them if you like bugs.
Watch them if you like bugs. No, they make a good double. They make a great double feature, like we said, because they're both
scary in like a really fun way.
They're both short and breezy, and they're also not similar enough to where it would be boring to watch them back to back.
Yeah, it's similar to the point where the influences and the similarities are more just fun to point out. Like they're interesting, and that like how different of takes they are on the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're a great time. But yeah, so you've been listening to Midnight Movie Gang. It's 11:47 Night Movie Gang. And yeah, please, you're listening to us on Spotify now. Check out our Instagram. Check out our TikTok.
Yes.
Like, share, subscribe.
Check us out.
By the time that you're listening, by the time that you're going to be listening to this, we're also going to be up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Slowly, Headliner is processing the backlog of episodes onto YouTube.
Check us out.
And check that out there. And then just keep up with the YouTube, because if we do any special like game streaming stuff, it'll
be on YouTube.
It'll be on there. So yeah, have a nice night, y'all.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Fly.
Fly.
So, here we go. With childish frustrations and complexes which the police are searching for James Hunt, believed to be the lover of Miss Williams, and her partner in the horrible murder of Walter Everybody, and I'm here to hold on. Oh, please tell me where this is going. Please tell me. Sorry, I don't know. How long could I got in here? 3 tickets to Albany on 6 o'clock train tonight. What do you think? Special agent, special agent.